Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks. Vance, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Ready to get going. I think we've got a great idea today and a great topic.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to it as well. Tell our audience what we're talking about.
We're going to be talking about one of the 8 money laws. We have to live these money laws in order to grow and obtain and keep wealth. And we decide not to do one of those, or if we're not as good in one of those 8 areas, then our wealth accumulation might suffer a little bit. And so we're going to start with the first one. Many of our clients and people who follow us have probably heard us talk about this. The very first one of the 8 money laws is called the 10% law. It's absolutely crucial that we do it, or another word for that would be mandatory for us to be successful with money. I think it's important that we really drill down with what this 10% law means. So, Seth, tell me, what does 10% mean to you? What do you think the 10% law means?
Well, I have a distinct advantage, but a lot of times when people hear a type of money law, they think of tithing in a biblical context, which has been around for thousands of years, ancient biblical law of putting God first with your finances. And so it's probably something akin to that, but in a big picture setting, it's about money management and disciplines and controls that the wealthy and the people who manage money successfully implement.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with every single word you said there. This 10% law, in the context that we're taking it today, is for improvement, is to become better off than we were before. And it's paramount, like we showed you here, that we adhere to this religiously, so to speak, that we do it every single time. So I think if we really push this in, people are going to look and say and or question whether they can maintain it or they can do it. Let's talk about paying yourself first out of your take-home money and what the bare minimum should be. The bare minimum should be 10% of that money should go towards this 10% law. So Seth, when, let's say I bring home $10,000 a month and I'm observing the 10% law, which is the minimum amount is 10% or more if we can. So let's just talk about the 10%. And I pay myself how much?
$1,000.
So I'm going to move $1,000 from my stack of money and I'm going to go put it here on the side. And I've got $9,000 left, right?
Right.
So I'm going to pay my bills with the rest of that money. And once I've got all my living expenses done, what would be the objective of me paying myself that 10%? What do I want to do with it?
Well, you want to keep control of all the money that comes into your hands, and you want to create a banking system that maximizes the use of that money.
Okay. And in simple terms, let's just say we've got $1,000 that we want to put to work. We don't want to hide it under the bed, and we don't want to put it to sleep. Because, folks, if we do that, every single day, that value decreases due to either taxes and especially inflation. Inflation will just erode the money that we hide or we put to sleep. And it's shocking that so many people feel like, well, I've got all these assets. They're working for me. I've got mutual funds and I've got 401ks and stock portfolios. Seth, are those accounts working for the people who have set up those accounts, or are they working for the people who have the money?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it depends upon what type of account you're talking about. But with everything that you mentioned, equities and brokerage accounts, 401ks, government-sponsored programs, you don't have liquidity, you don't have control, and you're subject to overwhelming fees over the life of the entire management.
Let's just talk about mutual funds. Okay, we are told put your money to work, take your excess money, go put it to work. And so they're maxing out on their 401k and they still have excess money, so they want to put it to work. And so they set up a brokerage account and the broker invested in mutual funds. What I'm here to tell people today, the word we want to get out is you just put your money to sleep, because you no longer have the money. As soon as the mutual fund managers get the money, they're going to put it to work. But they're going to put it to work for them. And they're going to double those accounts on the average of every 2.5 to 5 years. And the investor, which was the person who came up with the money, he has to leave that money in that account. He can't touch it. It has to stay there, period. Okay, for him to try to get an interest rate return or an increased value on that mutual fund. And once the fund managers take all the money they want out of the accounts, they're only going to pay the investors what they can get away with, okay, which is an interest rate return on the average. And it's nothing like what they make. It will never be anything like what they make. If you don't have control, if you don't put the money to work yourself, you can't make the lion's share of the returns. And that's all part of this education that we're going to go through. I want to throw this next one up here because this falls in line with what we're really talking about. It's all about how we think. I believe through life, we form our own opinions through mentors and experience on what money is. The sad thing is that it's not right. It's wrong in a sense, because all information that we get, all information that our mentors get, come from banks. And banks want our money. They want us to spend money, so we spend our money. Anyone in the money management profession that shows you how you can accumulate, but you're still spending money, still doesn't understand how money works. The banks never spend money, and they always get it back and reuse it over and over again. So it's all about how we think. We put stakes in the ground, and once we, like a ball and chain here to our ankle, we don't go any further. We can't go any further because we put those stakes in the ground. And so what I'm saying for us to do is to pull up those chains and rethink things. So let's try this, because you might argue with us. There should never be a reason we can't pay ourselves first. So Seth, tell me a reason that we normally get why people can't pay themselves this 10%.
Well, they have some extraordinary expenses in a given month, or they have a shortfall in income that doesn't suffice to meet all of their expenses or their needs for that month. That would be one.
Yeah. So these are the typical excuses that we hear why we can't pay the 10%. But I had an unexpected expense. If I pay myself the 10%, I'm not going to have enough to pay the bills. So let's walk through this. I want to walk through that, Seth, because I do this with every client that comes in and that we train, and so that they can rethink things. So let's say, again, let's lose $10,000 that came in, and I put $1,000 on the side, and I start paying all my bills. And as I pay my bills, I go through the stack of money, and I run out of money. And I look over at the bills, and there's still one bill left to be paid. It's due today, and it's for $1,000. What does everybody end up doing? They pay the bill, they go over and they take the $1,000, and they pay the bill, and now that $1,000 is gone. And they pass up. Here's the most important thing for us to understand, is they pass up probably one of the most lucrative investment opportunities they could ever have. See, one of the things we need to realize with money is that we're stewards over the money. When the money comes into our control, our job is to put it to work and preserve it, put it to work and get it back and move it, just like banks do. We didn't used to have banks, and we were taught this in the education system, how to bring money in, use it, get it back, store it, and repeat over and over again. In this scenario, when we pay ourselves the $1,000, we have a goal for that money. We want to put it to work. We also have to understand, even though we're an owner of a business or something, we still have to be the client. We don't get an advantage because we're the owner. And there's a famous story called The Grocery Store Story, and everybody should read that. It's a book called Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. And you can learn a lot from just wondering, if you were the store owner, could you take all of your food free? A lot of people I'm amazed that a lot of people say, I could eat like crazy because it would be free for me, or at least I could do it for wholesale. He explains in that story that if one can of peas are stolen out of that store, it takes like 24 cans of peas to replace one that was stolen. When we go into business and we think we can take an advantage, or we can give our family or we can give our friends a discount, we force all of the clientele to subsidize that theft. When in fact, the truth of the matter is, if you paid yourself the full retail price, who's going to get that profit? We're going to get that profit. So let's get into this and find out why it could be a great investment.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
We have to split ourselves. So if we split ourselves, the best way for me to explain this is you meet your client every morning when you look in the mirror. That guy in the mirror, or that lady, whoever, is your client. We think that it's a reflection of ourselves. No. Those people in the mirror, they live in a contra world. They only exist for two reasons. They want to go to work, bring home an income, so they can support their habit, which is spending money. That's the only two things they like to do. You, me, on the outside, we can see the big picture. And just like the bank's taking advantage of that person in the mirror, we're going to take advantage as well. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So it's the person in the mirror who's out of money. You have $1,000 you want to put to work. He needs $1,000. Don't you think the two of you could get together and come up with a loan that, you could easily repay however you want and fit your budget? Sure we can. So on $1,000, we could have it as low as $10 or $100, whatever fits our budget. Because folks, we just put $1,000 to work. Really, we don't want the $1,000 back. We want the income off of it. So in this situation, do you want your income high or low? We could charge 25% interest. We could charge 50% interest and double that investment every 2 years and still keep the payment where we want it. And it doesn't take many of those opportunities where we have a significant amount of our income producing money back to us. And folks, that's the key. As we go along in life, as we raise families or mature in our businesses and go up the ladder, every single month, we have to put money to work, because one day we're going to have a life transition, and that's going to come sooner than not. Pretty soon you're going to wake up, wait, I'm producing more money than I'm going to work making. So why don't I quit this job and work more on the things I want to do? That's the secret to success. That's why one of the reasons that we obey the 10% law is in order to do that. So Seth, give me another maybe opinion or option that people do with that 10% law. Here is $1,000. Where can we put that if the guy in the mirror doesn't need it?
I think you put it in your bank, and where it compounds and grows annually 4 to 7%, where it's asset protected and financially private. You put it in a place that's most advantageous for you, completely liquid, so you can use it if you need to, invest, expand business. The permutations of what you can do are endless once it's in your banking system.
So it's not in the real banks, in somebody else's bank, in a checking account or savings account. What we talk about in these specially designed permanent life insurance contracts. That contract is what used to form the banking function, the banking equation in the United States before we even had branch banking. So let's go on to the next point I want to hit here. Your paycheck is new money coming into your control. It's your personal economy. No one's ever heard that hey, I'm supposed to be running an economy in my home for profit. What is it, and why are we missing that education, Seth?
Because we're not taught. No one is taught these principles.
Okay, so it used to be taught from kindergarten all the way through a master's degree. It was all about independence. We didn't have banks, folks, so try to shift your thinking a little bit. If there were no such thing as banks, how could we form or perform some sort of banking equation? How could we borrow? How could we save up money? Where would we put it? How would we do it? And so all we're doing, folks, is bringing back the same strategy that existed in America before the Federal Reserve. So I think that's important for us to understand and know that as we get new money in, we've got to do something with it, and we've got to do it for profit. So there's just kind of a simple way of doing these things. I'm going to show us here a little bit. We pay ourselves off the top first. We then handle all of our living expenses that we need, because we're not asking people to change their way of life except live within your means. Okay, you want to live on less than you're actually bringing home. So then we take the 10% and the rest of the money that might be left over, and we start putting it to work, but it's inside our economy. Folks, as you learn about these money laws and you learn about private economies, as money moves inside your economy, you do not trigger a taxable event. Some of these accounts will double up to every 2.5 years. We'll say 5 years. We'll double that to be on the safe side. But they're doubling, and we're doing it all with after-tax money. We're not even triggering a taxable event. So I think that goes to some of the power and some of the reasons the banks and the government didn't want that educated, making us more dependent on the banks out there so that they can make this profit, so that they can use us as, what should I say, cattle and sheep?
Yeah, that's right. People that can be controlled and do what they want for their best interest. Sheeple.
So true. Well, let's just do a little bit of math here, and we could kind of end with some very powerful thinking. So I'm going to pull this slide up, and I want us to maybe take a look and see what we're going to do here. So I've been using this $10,000. We're paying ourselves 10%, which is $1,000. Well, our clients normally make 2% per month on just their flow of money. So we're going to add 2% interest on that $1,000 by the end of month one. So that's $1,020, okay? If we break that down and we divide that by 30, that's $34 a day. We are better off by $34 per day. Just hearing that, guys, you need to understand that's huge, because more than 85% of all Americans are not better off by even 5 cents a day. We have another strategy out there that if you just flow your money to get it back, we teach people how to get back 100% of their monthly expenses every single month. And it's easy. It doesn't take much time at all to convert you from spending money to using money. So just that strategy alone makes you better off by $4 a day. Just think of all these other laws. So let's keep going here. Can we keep it up? And if we can, what are the results? The end of the first year, that's $13,520. I'm downplaying these numbers. I'm going a little bit less. Okay, so we didn't really do anything except we have this working for us now. If we kept it up for 5 years, it's not 5 times just 13,000. It'll go at least over 114. If we did it for 10 years, that's over $450,000. And if we were able to keep this going in our family and in our private life, running our economy, I put 4,100,000, but my math came up to over $5 million. That's what this is worth to us, folks. This is what it means. You don't have to change your lifestyle. You don't have to invest in risky things. You just have to put your money to work with people in the mirror. And if you trust the people in the mirror to make their payments back, that's the only risk you're going to take. When you store your money, I think this month or this year, Seth, it's going to be at least 9% people will be making on these banking contracts, 3.5% on the guarantee side, 5.5% on the dividend side or the profit side. That equals 9%. That's something that a lot of our clients are really enjoying in these contracts, plus the access to money. So the 10% law, I think, is something absolutely critical, and it's part of a series of presentations we want to do, Seth, on these 8 money laws. So I think that's about as deep a dive as we can get today. Let me just get your thoughts on it, and you can kind of help wrap it up for us.
We're talking about taking $1,000 off the top and then adding 2% to that to come up with the $13,520 a year, right?
Right.
And then, so we're continually increasing and expanding our banking storehouse. And at the end of 20 years, you're going to have over 4 million, and that's a conservative estimate, of money that you would have otherwise lost and just spent.
And that's only, Seth, at the growth rate is what all of our clients do. It's about a 24% minimum growth rate on their money annually.
It's quite an amazing concept to just simply understand that really all we're doing is changing who gets paid first and what you do with the flow of payments.
Yeah, it is. I'm enthralled with how money works. I'm disgusted and I'm upset with what our banking world and government has done to us to get us in the condition we are today. All of us could enjoy the wealth of our labors and not feel like we're being robbed or put upon. And our society is full of corrupt laws now. Do you have a definition of corrupt laws, Seth?
No, I mean, I guess self-serving, overreaching government control might sum it up.
I would say a corrupt law is when a law is put in force that takes something from one person and gives it to another. That's corruption in my part. And that new person didn't earn it, didn't deserve it. Okay. So I can see some things for the betterment of a community, but when forced upon to take hard earnings and give it to other people because of a law, that's theft. That's corruption.
Well, that's awesome. It's a great topic. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface. We've got 8 money laws to educate folks on. That's just a surface look at the first money law. Folks, if you like this content and you want to learn more, you can find a ton of resources at privatebankingstrategies.com. And when you hit that website, you're going to be offered a book called Secrets That Banks Don't Want You to Know, and with their wealth secrets. It's a book that Vance and I authored. We've made it available to you on audio download or PDF simply by putting in your name and email. And we invite you to read that book. You're going to discover a number of what I call red pill topics that some people don't realize about our banking and about our monetary policy. If that book and this podcast and the other resources resonate with you, you're going to have an opportunity to schedule a call with Vance through the emails that we'll send you announcing podcasts and other valuable content. That exploratory call could change your financial wherewithal and your children's financial wherewithal. We really believe that the private banking strategy system is the only way to take control of your own finances and obtain financial freedom and get out of the rat race that has been imposed on people. We invite you to take this journey with us. We're excited about what we're teaching folks and have just hundreds of success stories and want you to be along with us. Vance, any closing comments?
No, I think you said it really well. This is a life-changing event. It was for me when I first discovered it, and I had been in money management for more than 35 years. And it was a life-changing event for me. So do yourself a favor, find out all you can, and either you want it or rule it out of your life. Either one, okay? And that's what the exploratory call is going to do, and we're going to set it up so you can see it in action with your own numbers and decide whether you want in or out.
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks, folks, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. And until then, be safe and take care.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.